Hey, and welcome to White Glove Trucking, a place where you can use trucking as a vehicle to live your best life. I'm E.J. Anderson, the congressional auditor turned long haul truck blocker, also known as the happiest, kindest truck on the road. And speaking of happiness, today's video is all about happiness. So I recently read this book. The author's name was Tal Ben Shahar, and he is the super smart professor that he went out and he looked at all these different areas and put them all together to make this like recipe for happiness and well-being, right? And he calls this SPIRE. It's an acronym. It stands for like spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, and emotional well-being. So as I was reading this book though, I was like, man, I was so grateful because I felt like trucking had helped me come close to achieving all of those, right? So I figured I'll do a video about it. So today's video, I'm just going to tackle the first one, the spiritual one, and I'll tackle the rest of them in next videos. But I also had to level it up. So I call my version Spire AF, and you'll have to stick around to the last video to see what AF stands for. So you guys ready to gear up your happiness? So if you're ready, let's go. Let's start with spiritual well-being. Okay, so this first aspect of well-being, right? Spiritual well-being. Now this is all about finding like meaning and purpose in your life and what you're doing, right? So basically there's three ways you can look at what you're doing, right? So there's this parable about a bricklayer, 3 bricklayers, right? They asked the first bricklayer, what are you doing? He says, I'm laying bricks. They asked the second bricklayer, what are you doing? He says, I'm building a wall. And they asked the third bricklayer, what are you doing? And he says, I'm building the house of God, because he was building a church, right, or a cathedral. So when you view your work as a calling as opposed to a job, you get greater job satisfaction, you're more resilient when you face challenges, and you have greater happiness and well-being. So the first step toward having more happiness and well-being in trucking is to view it as a calling and not just a job, right? So like if I wanted to view trucking as a calling, I might think, trucking is this lifeblood of society, right? We are delivering goods that could keep patients alive, bring food to hungry people, and ultimately sort of like delivering these goods and products that keep our capitalist society prosperous, right? So that's one way of thinking, okay, trucking could be a calling instead of as a job, like a job taking loads from A to B. That was the first way of thinking of trucking as a calling. Now there's a second way, kind of the way I do it. Now, I think of trucking as like literally finding my spiritual path. So trucking is a job that allows me to feel like I can thrive and be my best self. So in a world that I always found was just a little bit like overwhelming, trucking helped me find this perfect space, right? So in a world of multitasking, I wanted to like single task, do one thing at a time. In a fast-paced world, I wanted to go slow. And then lastly, like in a world where you kind of rewarded on doing one thing and doing it well, I wanted to just do a little bit of everything. So once I found trucking, I feel like it was the one job, like I had a lot of jobs, but it was the one job that allowed me to sort of like get everything that I wanted. So the way I think about it is like, on the one hand, trucking is like the most important thing in my life, right? But on the other hand, it's not just because of taking loads from A to B. It's more of trucking being that vehicle to let me live my best life. Okay, so that's the first step toward leveling up or gearing up your spiritual well-being, is thinking of trucking as a calling, right? So the second part is a little more practical. It's like, just don't be rushing, y'all. First of all, rushing while trucking can lead to poor decision making, which leads to more accidents. But for our spiritual well-being, which is what we're talking about here, rushing can lead to more like worse physical and mental health. It can prevent mindfulness and inner peace. And it can lead to like stress, emotional exhaustion, and like a distorted sense of purpose, which is what this video is all about. We're trying to get meaning and purpose. I mean, we all have seen it out here on the road. Guys rushing around, and I met one driver. His priorities had gotten all jacked up. He was sacrificing his body for the load. He wasn't even stopping to go to the bathroom. So we all have seen people that just kind of like got a little bit, lost sight of the big picture out here. So you can't be rushing. You know what? When I'm not rushing and I'm driving slow and chill, man, the trucking already becomes very meditative, man, and like spiritually enhancing, just automatically by doing nothing else, just slowing down. And another beautiful thing about not rushing is then trucking is not taxing. When I go faster, I'm tired at the end of the day. When I'm chilling, I'm not tired. And once you're not tired, now you have the energy to go out and do other things you might be interested in doing that can add that meaning and purpose to your trucking life. Like for me, right? I started a YouTube channel. That's just one example. I started a blog, and I recently started like this Instagram sort of like highway memorial project I'm excited about. All of these things are things that I can do because I'm not rushing and I'm not tired because I'm driving slow, Now, those are just examples for me. Like for you, it might be totally different, but you see what I'm saying. You get the picture, you get the idea. All right, well, that's it for this one. I hope some of these tips helps you level up or gear up your spiritual well-being so that you can drive happy and be happier out there on the road. All right, stay tuned. I'm gonna do the next one, which is physical well-being, on the next video. See you next time. Thanks for watching.